I think the idea behind this piece was to embrace the space for what it was. It's a rehearsal room. It's a ballet studio. The chance of doing anything magical is very limited within the space. So I wanted to embrace that idea and embrace the doubt of what are we going to do with this room, and therefore the piece became about creating a piece, or how a piece appears as an idea. I think what I like to see is real people. I like to see real people moving. So I like to sort of see a backside of the performer. And therefore the journey is also in reverse. As a trick, we start out with the climax and we sort of explore where this whole show came from. And it turns out that maybe they're just ordinary people cleaning the studio who dream of becoming or happen to become performers. I always try and make it very personalized to the city and the country that I'm in. And this very opera house in Chemnitz is really the home of Richard Tauber, which was one of the early 20th century biggest tenors in the world. And he came from here, and he had his debut on this stage. And after one show, he was offered to go to Dresden, so he left quite quickly. And so we hear his voice in the piece, sort of as a ghost of the past, echoing through once in a while. And then another German man who is also from this city is a very famous Hammond organ player called Klaus Wunderlich. And basically he's done covers of any song you can think of. And I just happened to find his version of Strangers in the Night. And that sort of became this other theme through the piece, to see how many different versions can we find, what do they mean, and would that finally be the version of music that would make the piece. So that's also just a journey through music in that sense. I think every creator is looking for their style.
Of course, yeah.
And I mean, I wish I could pinpoint exactly what my style was. I think I am really still searching, but I think what we see, especially in the opening of the piece, is very much my style. This energy that derives from classical ballet, but somehow twisted, somehow quite aggressive also sometimes, and very specifically in the music. But I think for everyone the dream is to know exactly what their style is and how to get there, and have a catalog of ideas of movement that you can always fall back to. And I think I'm getting there, but everything takes time. This is for other people to decide. But I think I like to use text. I like to use abstract text and to sort of venture a little bit into the sort of surreal world, and maybe pose more questions than answers. For me, if everything is written out completely clearly, as an audience, my imagination isn't really active. And I like to watch something and make up my own story of what I'm seeing. I am very bored if I know what I'm watching. Exactly. And I think that I myself want to experience something that can transport me somewhere, maybe make me a little confused and frustrated of what I'm watching, but evidently build my own story in that universe. I think it started, I can say exactly, it's 11 years ago now, 2011. There was a workshop called in the Royal Danish Ballet, and I was like, let's do it. I don't know, but let's try something. And from there on, it actually just started quite, quietly, it was more and more, and I kept on taking all the possibilities that came to make something. And I think that's really the beauty of the beginning of your any creative work, that it starts with a curiosity. It starts with being unfamiliar to yourself, and therefore you have no judgment of what you're doing. And I think I urge myself to hold on to that feeling in whatever I do. But of course, the more and more work we do, we become more and more aware of who we are, and maybe we even tend to say, oh, are you doing that again? Or are you using that again? Oh, we've seen that before. But again, that is also a style. One of my biggest inspirations, speaking also of this magic realism, surreal world, is the Greek director Dimitris Papagiannou, who is maybe considers himself more as a stage director, but for me, his imagination really just takes my breath away, and he manages to create universes in front of our eyes, even though I know that the stage is a proscenium and the audience sits here and everything else is happening up there. I am never bored. And I think that is really the first factor, is if my mind starts to drift during a show, I know, okay, I'm not on this. And it annoys me. And I start to look at the lights. I'm like, okay, what lamps are they using here? And I think it's impossible to have been a dancer and not being influenced by choreographers you work with.
Right.
I see it very difficult.
Who is your biggest influences?
My biggest inspiration is probably the Spanish choreographer called Marcos Morao, who has a company called La Veronal. And for me, he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever worked with. He's one of those choreographers that you trust 100% in the process. It's extremely difficult movement. It's a style that's very fast and very specific, but he manages to create a world around the movement, which tells more than just the movement. He manages to create a universe, and this is what I try to do as well. I fight for myself that every piece, if it's 5 minutes or it's 25 minutes, that it lives in a sort of another place, that we can embrace the place we are in with the audience for that little amount of time together. That's really my main goal. And it's interesting because he was never a dancer himself. Who else?
Like
there
a
was
ballet
someone
dancer.
else. Like a ballet dancer, yeah. And I think it's interesting because he has no perception of what dance should be or what movement should be. For me, like also a choreographer like Marco Göcke, for example, also didn't have a long dancing career, but he still manages to create a language of his own.
Right.
That is a specific language, and I think it's interesting that it's those voices I'm fascinated by, because they don't have a defined idea of what dance should be.
Right.
Because maybe they haven't themselves worked with choreographers who have put a language upon them.
Exactly.
You know?
It looks like the more trained the dancer is, the less individuality there left in the dancer.
Somehow, and it's understandable because we know what we know.
Exactly.
You know, we cannot pretend that we know anything else, and this is why, you know, inspiration comes from more than people. It comes from everything we see and other forms of art. I think this is really the main inspiration.
But you are very
overall.
trained dancer, right?
Huh?
You are very trained dancer.
Yeah, no, I know, and I'm yes, definitely, and I'm also trying to sort of break free of that, whatever breaking free is, but I'm for sure trying not to be. I'm trying to break free of myself. I think my own dancing,
Right.
because at some point I won't be able, which is also interesting. I won't be able to show it. I keep thinking of that. Now I'm 35, and in 20 years I don't know how physical can I be. So
in 25 years you still can be physical.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But about 40 years?
But that's the
then
thing.
you
Like
have to think.
it would be. I mean, the dream is to be able to sit in my chair and get my movement
Oh, yeah.
language across, because then it's specific enough, you know.
Yeah.
Then it's a language.
What do you think about the choreographers or directors, like for example, who weren't the dancers at all, but who give specific tasks and in the building of the piece, they actually use the creativity of the dancers themselves. So basically, dancers create their material, and they just organize the process. What do you think about that kind of stuff?
It really depends on the process, I would say, and it depends on how involved you feel and how much ownership you feel over your material. And I think it's very delicate. I mean, I've been in many processes where I've gotten a poem or a verse from a song, and they said, "Here, now create your movement to the words," and then it's been put together in a way that is a great, and the structure has then been created from that movement, but still the movement was created by me. And I think I've become extremely aware of when it's a co-production by the dancers or co-creation by the dancers, and I think we could be better as choreographers of crediting the dancers for their work.
Right.
I think we could be better at saying choreography in collaboration with the dancers, with the performers. And then you can say direction, blah, 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 whoever, the director, the choreographer.
But as a dancer, you didn't mind doing this work, right?
I think when I was young, it wasn't important. I just wanted to dance. I wanted to learn new things. And it was also a way of working. I mean, I'm very careful in giving tasks. I try to be extremely specific. Because it can become very fluffy, and you can say keep the head on your floor on the ground, and then an hour later they are still there without feedback, and then what? So I think there's a responsibility as a director who co-creates or creates with the dancers to analyze what you're given back, and always judge it very supportingly. And saying this, overanalyze it, tear it apart. Like, what did you see? What did you feel watching it? And maybe not give a critique on it in the sense of how it could be better, because this is a personal opinion from someone else based on your ideas. So, So I think in general, the dance creators who work like this can be more generous in sharing the credit. Yeah, my father was my first director also, so he hired me in the company. And my mom was a ballet mistress, so it was very it was a lot of ballet.
So you know the kitchen.
I know.
Inside.
Yeah.
So it was like I guess a lot of influence.
Definitely. I mean, I tried not to become a dancer for many years.
What did you do? What did you do?
I did sports.
What kind?
Handball, tennis, football, everything. I did everything. And then when I was 13, they had stopped asking if I wanted to become a dancer. And then I said, now I want to try. And I think for me, it's a gift. I mean, I don't know, physically, technically, maybe it would have been better to start 3 years earlier.
So you started at 14?
13.
Like Norit, basically.
But then again, I'm very happy that the decision was my own. Mm-hmm. That I said, I'm gonna try it. It's my responsibility. I'm trying this now. And then I became a member of the company, and it just went along as a young dancer. Went well. And then at 26, I needed to try something else. So I got the opportunity to go to Goche Dance in Stuttgart, and I was there with Eric for 2 years. And these are 2 of the most important years in my career, because I got to do 10 creations. It was incredible. I mean, I'm so fortunate to also be working a lot with actors now and stage directors. So I co-direct plays / dance theater. And this is a huge inspiration to work with actors and stage directors, because their mindset is creative wise. It's very different from how we work. For them it always starts with the text, which is so beautiful. Where we mainly, I guess, sometimes start with music if it's a more abstract piece. But what can come from analyzing text to the minor details of how did it feel to sit in the grass? What did it taste like? What did it smell like to be in that room? The ideas that come out of those very simple questions. I've seen some incredible things in the rehearsal room, just speaking of tasks and co-creating with the artist of what they have put on the table. Why is Benno never in third act of Swan Lake? It's the best friend of the prince, but he's not at the party. Right. What's going on? Like, it's so simple, but if we want to have directors always want to bring in a new audience. And for that, you have to treat them as being the smartest people in the world. Because if we pretend that we have to educate people, then we dumb things down, and then people lose interest because it's too simple. And if it doesn't make sense, people get even more confused with ballet, which is already super confusing because it's super weird.
As an audience member, can you be moved to tears in the performance when you watch the performance?
Oh, sounds so cold-hearted, but it is so rare.
When was the last time you cried in the theater?
Cried in the theater. Oh, see, I don't even remember.
Okay.
Which is really sad.
But could you cry in the theater?
I think so.
Yeah. Movie? Maybe
movie probably easier.
Yeah. When was the last time you cried watching a movie?
Same answer.
Okay, quickly, just a quick question. 3 greatest pieces of dance ever.
Oh my god. Oh wow. Okay, shit. Wow. Okay. Pina Bausch's Sacre, simply because it is so true to the musical score. It almost follows the instruments completely as it's written. For my background and for my style of wanting to tell stories, and from my heritage, Bonneville's La Sulfide is extremely important to me because it is so clear. The story is so clear. The story is timeless. Stylistically, it creates this etherical world, and the story is clear because the mime is so specific and so clear. And I think I have learned extremely much about myself and presence on stage by knowing that ballet so much. No, I think it's a dance piece, but yeah, I will go back to Papayanou's Still Life.
Okay. Yeah, I remember they brought it to Stockholm myself.
Yeah. And I thought it is one of the most simple, clear ideas. It's really one of those pieces where I was like, why didn't I get that idea? And I think that is such an impact, that the simplicity of telling the story about the creator and the muse, and the creator and the artwork, and how you as an artist become your artwork is so clear and beautiful in that piece. And then probably Forsyth's One Flat Thing. Simply because of the musicality in the movement and the confusion of the patterns, which is clear. This is completely defined and clear. But I think the math of the piece is so beautiful and just a masterpiece for me. I like to watch pieces where I cannot follow the cues or I cannot follow the rhythm, but it's there. This really enchants me. Yeah.
Okay, and then maybe kind of the last question. If you would be offered to create a piece for Bolshoi now, what would you do?
I mean, I would probably not go to the Bolshoi right now.
Exactly.
But if I was offered to do a piece anywhere, I mean, I think one of my biggest dreams is to do a piece where the audience can experience the magic of the theater and the fakeness of the theater from very close up. So really putting them on stage and showing them the quick change, showing them the sets going up and down, showing them all the backstage drama, showing them being fake on stage, being real in the wings, and playing with this illusion of reality, because it's really how we live today. We have almost become avatars of ourselves on social media, you know. And I think the theater has been that all along. We have just accepted the terms that the people we see performing in front of us are real people, but they are not real characters. So I think that's probably my dream piece, to try and do a two-sided work for the audience.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sebastian, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And good luck. The best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.